All right, let's get started. So, welcome to our webinar. For some context here, obviously growth marketers spend hours every week on manual work, doing things like analyzing funnel drop-offs, building retargeting audiences, writing experiment briefs. And when it comes to, some more complex things like automated monitoring or alerting, they're often waiting on developers and engineering. So the thing that most people don't realize that we've learned is some of the best tools, the best AI tools for this kind of work aren't marketed to marketers. They're developer tools. But you don't necessarily need to be a developer to use them. So today I'm going to walk through AI agents that connect directly to BigQuery, GA4, your project management tools, and the rest of your stack, and produce outputs that you can use immediately. So we're not going to be talking about ChatGPT writing ad copy or building creatives. We're looking at agents that find funnel drop-off, generate hypotheses, create audiences, and set up automations. So I'm Arun from FunnelEnvy, joined by my colleague David, and welcome to Agents for Marketers, from Insights to Action. Like I said, over the next hour, I'm going to be running 6 live demos. We're actually probably not going to be able to do 6 because of time constraints, but as many as we can, based on real use cases from Reform, which is our SaaS form builder product. You're going to see funnel analysis that writes experiment briefs, retargeting audiences, exported as CSVs, ready for Google Ads, anomaly detection that alerts you in Slack, and more. Real workflows and real outputs. And at the end of this, we're going to drop a link to our free playbook and Git repository, which has all of the exact prompts and workflows that we use here in the demo, so you can run and extend these yourself.
Great. Yep. Thanks, Arun. Welcome everyone. It's great to have you here. I'm really excited about what we have in store for you today. Everything we're going to be sharing is completely actionable. It's meant for the end users who growth marketers who are actually doing these initiatives. If questions come up during any of the demos, if you have any questions now, please just drop them in the chat next to the live stream. I'll be monitoring and we'll surface those questions during some of the demo processing time as the agent does its thing. And also at the end, we will have a Q&A.
Great. So before we dive into the demos, I want to just share the mental model that makes these agents so powerful for marketers. So we call it the insight, hypothesis, action loop, or framework. So insights is where the agents are going to query your data. Again, that can be from BigQuery, GA4, your CRM, whatever those data sources are, and surfaces patterns that you'd otherwise spend hours finding. These could be things like, where's the funnel dropping off? Which features are predictive of conversions? Is something broken in our tracking? Hypotheses, the next step, is where the agents are generating reason from that insight. So it's not just about giving you data. They do things like propose explanations and test ideas. For example, if we add social proof here, we expect conversion to increase because our paid social traffic lacks brand familiarity, things like that. And then finally, coming out of the hypothesis, the action is where the agents actually do something. Things like creating an audience in Google Ads, sending an alert, generating an experiment brief, and pushing it up to your project management tool. These are the sorts of actions that we're going to be looking at. So, obviously this is different than business intelligence because BI tools stop at dashboards. Agents of the nature that we're looking at go all the way to action. So the demos that you're going to see follow this arc. We're going to start with a full funnel analysis that generates experiment briefs. You'll see the complete insight, hypothesis, action framework in that one demo. Then we'll move on to some other use cases like paid media activation, anomaly detection with Slack alerts, and more. And like I said, we're not going to get through all of these just given time constraints, but you will have all of the demos available to you in the links that we share towards the end. So each of these demos is based on realistic SaaS scenarios from Reform, which is our SaaS platform, form builder product. The data that we're using here is synthetic for the purposes of the demo and time constraints, but the patterns, insights, and outputs are exactly what you'd see with your own data. So let's get into it. Let's start with the complete framework demonstration. So first up, we want to analyze our conversion funnel, generate A/B test hypotheses, and create a complete experiment brief all in one workflow. So one of the most common questions that I hear from growth marketers is, where are we losing people in our funnel? Let me show you how an agent can answer that question in seconds and then generate a complete experiment brief for your CRO team. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time. This is Reform, our SaaS product. I'm going to be spending a lot of time in this window here today. This is Claude Code. It's again a AI tool that's primarily marketed to developers, but can be quite effective in accomplishing some of these workflows and use cases. So let me kick it off with my first prompt. I want to analyze the Reform SaaS conversion funnel from our BigQuery data warehouse. Now in Reform, we've got Google Analytics that captures event and web analytics data, and it's integrated into our data warehouse BigQuery. I've specified the tables that we want. And as I said, we have some tables in BigQuery. In this case, we've got user data and event data that we're capturing about the Reform users and funnel. And I want the agent to analyze the full funnel all the way from the landing to our pricing page to start complete registration and ultimately to paid conversion. We want it to tell us the drop-off percentages at each stage, analyze which stages have the biggest problem, and show us some summary table showing the conversion rates. Now, for many of these prompts, you'll see that I'm writing to Markdown files. I like this pattern in general, but it also makes it easier for the purposes of this demo to kind of share the outputs with you.
Perfect. And while that's doing that, Arun, I'm curious, for this example, all our data is in BigQuery. Obviously, other folks will use other data sources like Amplitude. How difficult is it to update this to just point to a different source for the agent?
Yeah, so you can really integrate with any source that has APIs or data connections or what have you. The nice thing about using a tool like Claude Code or Codex CLI, something that runs locally on your machine, is it can take advantage of everything in your local environment. All of the tools, command line tools available. It can actually write code to connect those different things, or you can install things like MCP servers and clients to automatically connect to those things. So it's definitely doable. In this case, I've got, and you'll see here several times in this demo, it's running a sub agent, and I've created a skill that knows how to connect to our BigQuery database or data warehouse and pull this data. But that can be easily adapted to any source data. So you can see here that it's pulled the data from BigQuery. It's writing that comprehensive funnel analysis. Let's see what it's come up with. So as we can see here, we've got kind of our full funnel overview, again, all the way from landing, viewing, pricing, registration, and paid conversion, analysis of the conversion rates as well as drop-off. And it's identified, what's a major problem or I suppose opportunity is that, over 75% of users who complete registration don't convert to paid. Like many SaaS platforms, Reform has a free trial, but we're seeing that, over 3/4 of users who start that trial don't convert to paid. So that's a classic PLG challenge. It's the trial to paid gap. We're getting signups, but we're not converting enough of them to paying customers. So we're going to come back to this problem in a later demo, but for now, let's say I wanted to go a little bit deeper and dig into the channel breakdown. So I'm going to ask Claude to break down the pricing and registration conversion rate by traffic source. So in that data in BigQuery that I shared with you, I do have traffic source and UTM campaigns captured. So I wanted to tell me which channels have the worst drop-off rates.
Very cool. And I do like how it gives the contextual information on what the agent is actually conducting at any given point. Very useful for still technical but non-technical marketers. It's very cool from my perspective. A lot of this example and a lot of the other items we're going to go through today normally would involve assigning something to a team member in hours, days to conduct this analysis, to do some of the regression that may be occurring in some of the future demos. So this is really exciting for me. You can just some base setup with getting all your data in place, and then asynchronously it is providing a lot of leverage for in terms of output through the workday. So this is very cool to see.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully improving the cycle time, right? We're not taking humans out of the loop, but we're automating a lot of the sort of data drudgery that needs to happen. So it's come back with some analysis here on channel performance, and we can see here pretty quickly that paid social is the worst performer. It's the conversion rate is significantly less than organic, which is obviously the best performer, and this is there's a pretty simple explanation for this, or hopefully a simple hypothesis around this, that cold traffic from places like LinkedIn and Facebook, hasn't built trust with the brand yet that maybe an organic visitor has, and building that trust is essential for conversion, and it suggests a potential credibility gap for that traffic that we need to address. So we've identified a potential problem here. Let's actually use the agent next to generate a hypothesis for how to fix it. So this is where we get into that hypothesis step. So the agent now, we're going to ask it not just to summarize data, but to reason from the insights that we've found to generate a structured A/B test hypothesis. So I'm going to kick this prompt off, but effectively we're sort of restating the findings and then asking it to create a structured A/B test hypothesis. Now this follows kind of the best practice structure that we use at FunnelEnvy. If we make a change, then we expect something to happen because of some evidence. And we're asking it to produce in that format, but also consider why that traffic might not be converting as well, psychological principles that it could be taken into account to address it, and most importantly, propose a testable change on page that we could test to actually see the change that we're looking for, the improvement that we're looking for.
Perfect. I'm really excited to see the output of this. Arun, if you can just scroll up in the
Sure.
console. Yeah, I mean, just the simple fact that it's able to do some higher level reasoning and have an insight for the data we are seeing is pretty remarkable. Sometimes it's a battle with data analysts where, yes, we're getting a dashboard, but what does all this data mean? Why are we seeing it? What's the actual customer insight for this behavior? And this seems like it's spot on. I'm excited to see the quality of the experiment and hypothesis that it generates. But this looks pretty cool.
Yeah, David, I know you've looked at thousands of test hypotheses and briefs over the years, so I'm going to be curious in terms of what you think of this as well. Okay, so here we go. It's created, the experiment brief. Let me pull it up in a little bit more readable format. So there we go. Here's our structured A/B test hypothesis for social proof, which is that colder traffic hitting the pricing page. Again, it's restated the insight, the root cause, some psychological principles that we asked for, and here's our structured hypothesis. Again, following that template of if we, in this case, what it's suggesting is add social proof elements to the pricing page, testimonials, customer logos, success metrics, then we should see a significant improvement in that pricing and registration conversion rate for that paid social traffic. Again, because cold traffic lacks the trust signals that organic visitors have built up through multiple sessions on our site. It's even stated some test designs, somewhat low fidelity mock-up, success metrics, guardrail metrics, things like sample size calculation, which is really, really important because, for example, if we just tested this on paid social, that 8-week duration for a test might be too long, but if we actually tested across all traffic and then segmented out paid social, it would be a much shorter test. So this is the sort of thing that we look for as well, and then some implementation notes. So, David, what do you think? Good brief?
This looks pretty cool to me. Couple questions seeing it. Well, actually, first of all, for all the attendees, yes, AI has been developing, but whenever I get an output with whatever I'm doing, I still run it through a couple checks on my end just to make sure that it aligns with, and we'll use a hypothesis generation as an example, making sure it aligns with previous testing that we may have done for a specific website, our historical experience and knowledge. So there is kind of a gate check. I don't think we're quite at the point where we can just take what's provided at face value, but this looks extremely high quality. Arun, if we wanted to explore something outside of the social proof insight, how would we get to that point, out of curiosity?
I mean, that's a matter of prompting the agent, prompting Claude in this case in natural language. So, part of generating these intermediate outputs through the workflow, in this case in Markdown, which I recommend as a best practice, is that you can read it as a human and do what you just said. Apply your own sort of contextual filter to it. Apply your expertise to it. Challenge it, question it, ask it to revise it, look at other factors, and get it to a point where you think it's right and you're ready to move on to that next step. So you're right. This isn't, sure, you can if you really wanted to, you could automate this whole thing and let it go. But I really like the ability for the expert to jump in at various steps in the workflow and guide it.
Certainly.
So what we've done is generated a structured hypothesis document. Let's actually take this to the next level and talk about how we action this. And this is another place that agents can really shine, taking that strategic idea and hypothesis and generating all of the documentation that a team would need to execute it. So in this prompt, I'm asking Claude to generate a complete experiment brief for the hypothesis, including all the things that our CRO and technical team would need to be able to execute it. The problem statement, hypothesis breakdown, the experiment design, success metrics that we need to make sure are included in the experiment, the sample size calculation, which we always run to look at test duration, an implementation checklist, analysis plan, and follow-up actions. Again, we want this to be something production ready that we can hand to the team tomorrow once we've got that hypothesis brief.
That sounds fantastic. I would say something like this, compiling a brief technical requirements for the team, would take an hour of an individual's time, maybe 2. The fact that this is doing it completely automated is pretty remarkable and exciting to see. For everyone just joining now, we're kind of at the end of demo 1, which is the outcome is this hypothesis and experiment generation, and now we're building the actual spec. But step 1 was feeding in funnel data. The agent conducted some analysis, actually uncovered an insight based off of solid psychological principle, and then from there developed an actual test idea, specification, and now we're compiling an output to send to, assuming we want to actually move to design or implementation phase of the process.
Yeah, and one of the things I like that it's doing now, which you can see here in the terminal, is calculating the business impact and revenue opportunity. I think, one of the things that testing and experimentation teams and growth marketers should be doing is looking at the potential revenue impact of the experiments. Okay, we've got our experiment brief, and now this is, we've moved from sort of strategic hypothesis to tactical execution plan, and here it is. It's quite long. I'm not going to go through it, but it's really got all of the elements to include in the test: control versus variation treatments, primary metrics, secondary metrics, sample size calculation, et cetera, et cetera. So again, kind of everything that you need to be able to hand this to the CRO team to execute. Now, the final step is, getting this to a place. Right now, that experiment brief is living on my local computer, and we want to push this to a place where we're going to hand it off to the team to execute. Now, you might use project management tools like Notion or Asana. In our case, we use ClickUp, and the agents can complete that process for you, and actually, in this case, send the experiment brief to ClickUp as a new task. We're also going to ask it to capture a screenshot of the pricing page, which we typically include in our experiment briefs, and generate a new task in ClickUp. So here's my ClickUp window. Let's see if it gets it done.
Perfect. And yeah, just a reminder, if any questions do come up, add them into the chat, and we will go through them either through some of these times when the agent is running through its process, or at the end Q&A. But keep them coming up, and we have a handful of other exciting use cases and demos right after this. So stick around. I think everyone will learn something. And also, quick reminder, at the end, we will be sharing all of the prompts, all of the demos, a whole kind of workbook of what you're seeing today. And hopefully you can take that with you, for within your own businesses, inspiration, or even just kind of out of the box ideas for what you can do.
Yep. And so while that is running, I'm just going to quickly recap. Oh, there it is. Let me pull it up. So here we can see the new ClickUp task that's been generated. It has a markdown formatting problem, which is inevitable in a live demo. But here we go. We've got the sort of full experiment brief documented, the screenshot captured in here. Once we fix that formatting, we should be good to go to hand this off. So just to recap, let's see if it fixed that formatting. Nope. Just to recap, what we did here is in just a few minutes, we started with insights. So the agent queried our BigQuery data warehouse, identified that over 75% of registered users don't convert to paid, and that the paid social had the worst pricing to registration rate. We then went to our hypothesis stage, where the agent reasoned from that insight to generate structured A/B test hypothesis based on some social proof and psychological principles, and then the action step, where the agent created a complete production-ready experiment brief, captured a screenshot of the pricing page, and sent it to our project management tool, ClickUp. So again, that's the full arc of our framework: insight, hypothesis, action in practice. And you just saw it from sort of raw data to actionable output in this one demo. Okay. So let's move on to the next demo and see how agents can help with paid media activation. And that's creating audiences that you can upload to Google Ads in this example, but really any paid media platform. So the context here is, let's say you're running paid campaigns. We're running paid campaigns for Reform, and we want to improve performance. So there are two opportunities we've identified. First, we want to feed the high-value subscriber data back into Google Ads for better smart bidding, also known as enhanced conversions. And the second thing we want to do is retarget engaged users who viewed our pricing page, so they showed intent, but they didn't convert. Now, normally this can take hours of SQL work and data formatting, but let's see how we could automate this with our agent. So for the first one, I'm going to look at the enhanced conversions export for Google Ads. I'm going to be using CSVs going forward in the demos because it's a little faster than querying BigQuery. Now that you know that we can do that, I want to speed this up with CSVs. So I've got CSVs that identify the events from our product events as well as the users, and I wanted to identify high-value Reform subscribers. So users who completed a paid plan conversion event, so they're a paid plan, they're over a threshold of lifetime revenue, and I wanted to give us the data in a format that I can directly upload into Google Ads.
Perfect. And I'll just call out, similar to our previous demo, and maybe if I'm wrong, let me know, but whether this is Google data, Meta, Facebook, it's good. It's still going to work the same. Just need to perhaps some simple tweaks to the prompt, but whatever the data source is, whatever the format is of the CSV, it's going to be able to work through that. And just for this example, we're using the Google enhanced conversions for the demo.
Yep, and you'll see here that, and when we send the link to the workflows, you'll note that there are Python scripts and code in this, but I didn't write any of that code. Claude wrote that code for me. So the code to extract data, analyze it, prepare prepare the outputs. It's writing all of that, and sometimes on the fly. Now in this case, I've run through this, rehearsed this a few times, so it found the script already. But don't be sort of put off by the fact that there's code involved, because you're not having to either write it yourself or go to a developer. In many cases, especially for these kind of use cases, Claude or any of these CLI tools can generate the code and run it for you. Okay, here we go. We've got our analysis. We've got an analysis document that we asked for, as well as our CSV created. Now, this CSV it has the hashed email, phone numbers, the conversion name and time. So this is ready to upload in the format that Google Ads expects. And as I said, an analysis of the high value subscribers. It found 97 of them, and that met the criteria that we want. So when we upload this into Google Ads, it should be able to use it immediately for better bidding and bid optimization.
Very cool. Well, I'm certainly not the paid expert. However, would this be something more ad hoc or like an reoccurring process to kind of?
I mean, often it is, especially at higher volumes, a recurring process. But this also, doing this kind of analysis and setting those thresholds and figuring out what the numbers are, that kind of analysis step might be so more ad hoc. So a combination of both. And we're going to go into a demo actually with the anomaly detection, where you might initially do it ad hoc, but then you want to formalize it and make it run on an ongoing basis. So keep that thought in mind.
Cool.
Okay, so the next use case here is creating a retargeting audience. In this case, I've got users that are showing intent, so they viewed the pricing page multiple times. They have interest. They've even started the registration, but for some reason or another, didn't convert to a paid plan. So I want Claude to generate a CSV again that I can upload to Google Ads, but in this case, to create a retargeting audience that I can hopefully get to convert to a paid plan. They're already showing intent. They already have interest and awareness of the product. So it should be some low-hanging fruit with respect to these users. So again, it's analyzing the CSV, generating or identifying an existing script to parse it, and then generating the output in the format that Google Ads expects.
Perfect. Now, Arun, these conditions seem like it be fairly high intent. Viewed pricing page twice, started but dropped off on the registration funnel. Was that user defined? Did you define those conditions? Is that something that can be picked up by the agent through maybe a separate analysis of sorts?
Absolutely, yeah. I think in this case I just made it up, and for the purposes of the demo, had the data kind of conform to that. But certainly preceding this might be an analysis step where you try different sort of thresholds and things that might show this interest and intent, but not conversion. And saw what the numbers look like, and had Claude help you sort of show the numbers what they look like before you defined the audience characteristics. So here we go. The agent is done in a few seconds. We've got our analysis, in this case 589 users. If I can just get 15 to 20% of them to convert, that should be a significant number of paid conversions. And just as in the previous example, a CSV that's formatted and ready to go to Google Ads. Now, you could, of course, take it to the next step, much like we did for ClickUp in the prior demo, and actually push this through the API directly from our agent. But in this case, I've just generated the CSV, so anyone can go upload those into Google Ads. All right. So just to recap what we did in this sort of paid media activation demo, we just looked at an agent that, analyzed Reform's funnel, starting with user and event data that was, in this case, over 500 users and over 5,300 events. Identified the two high-value segments using the logic that we gave it, generated the properly formatted Google Ads, including sort of the hashed emails and PII that Google Ads expects, and did it all in a few minutes. Now, this is, again, a workflow that might take a marketer or analyst, an hour or more. We've just automated it. Okay, let's move forward to the next demo, which is anomaly detection and Slack alerting. So, this is a not uncommon problem that we've seen is funnels breaking and analytics breaking. So what if you had an AI agent that could monitor your SaaS metrics 24/7 and alert you the moment something unusual happened before, the boss asked why registrations dropped? So let's look into this example using Reform's daily metrics. So I'm going to start with the detection step, and I'm going to ask the agent to analyze the daily metrics and look for any anomalies, looking for days where registration starts or paid conversions, trial conversion rates deviate more from the standard deviation, deviate by more than 2 standard deviations from the mean, and generate an anomaly report. And then for each of those anomalies, go into a little bit more detail. The date and severity level, which happened, the z-score, which is basically the deviation from the mean, potential causes to investigate, and then recommendations on immediate actions.
Very cool. And I'm assuming if maybe there was a metric that we wanted to use a different threshold than 2 standard deviations, I assume that would be as simple as updating the prompt a bit to specify.
Yep, absolutely.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm sure we've all done it. The old Google Analytics alerts, email alerts for some of this stuff. This seems a bit more in depth. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what it uncovers.
I mean, I know I certainly get lots of Google Analytics reports that my brain has just trained itself to ignore. But here we go. It's analyzed the data, it's found anomalies, and now it's writing out our report. And right away, even from the output, we can see, suspiciously low value for registration completes on a certain date.
Now, is that just part of the agent, Arun, how it's providing an update on what it's uncovering at this?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So it does provide some of this ongoing update just by default. I actually turned on a feature in Claude, this insight, where you see this insight thing. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what feature, but I thought it was useful because it actually gives more detail in terms of descriptive output as it's working through, as in it's doing its inference and what it's finding. So you've got a little bit extra here. It's a feature you can turn on if you happen to be using Claude Code. Anomaly detection. There we go. So here's our report, and we see a few things. Critical registration drop on November 15th. That's the registration starts. We see a positive spike on the 21st in paid conversions. So we probably want to know what that's all about. It looks like something good happened, or we have anomalous reporting, and some smaller like conversion rate issues. Towards the end of the month, registrations are stable, but conversions drop. So these are especially these like more subtle problems, often sometimes hard to spot in dashboards. And obviously it's got a lot of the detail around that we asked it for around the metrics, what happened, and recommended actions. So this is all super useful, but this kind of anomaly detection is only really useful if if it's in front of the right people in the right format so they can action it. So we're going to next ask Claude to send our team a Slack alert specifically about that November 15th registration drop, and include all of the stuff that they'll need to understand and action it. So here's the channel I've set up for that. And again, this is, it goes back to this idea of, having this agent integrated into your workflow, integrated into your stack, and taking action that you guide it to. What it's going to do is format the Slack message based on the way it's been configured, and send the Slack alert. And this is previous runs that I did.
What really stands out to me is it's not just flagging an alert, it's providing potential causes as well. So yeah, decent amount of thought it's providing that frees up our time, right?
Yep. And this is the one that it just sent 9:38. Here we go. So we've got the date, severity, things to investigate, recommended actions, being sent out to our team. So doing this on a one-off basis is okay and cool, and you might do that, but certainly this kind of anomaly detection is something that you might want to run automatically every day. So for this, a lot of marketing and ops teams use tools like Zapier, N8N, etc. We're heavy users of N8N. So we can actually use the agent not just to do this kind of one-off analysis and alert, but actually generate and deploy an automation workflow for you. So let's see what happens if we ask the agent to generate an N8N workflow based on exactly what we just did. So we want it to run daily at 9 a.m. We want it to query reform metrics from BigQuery, check if any of those key events that we care about are anomalous, and if so, send a Slack alert to the team with context. And we're not only going to generate this workflow locally, we're actually going to push it into our N8N instance, so I can review it and hit a button and turn it on once it's ready to go.
Amazing. For anyone not familiar with N8N, I like to think of it as Zapier for professionals. Really allows very in-depth automation, API connections, and this is going to completely automate putting that workflow together, which is quite remarkable. Can't wait to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, and you can see here that it just as in the other demos, it's invoking a sub-agent, which I've set up with specialized skills to generate N8N workflows. N8N workflows can be generated just as JSON documents, and that's what it's doing locally, and then it's going to push it through the API to N8N. I ran into a couple of timeouts here when rehearsing, so if this runs too long, we'll just stop it and I'll show you the output, but hopefully it works.
Perfect. And just had a quick thought with the original anomaly detection. Something we always, and it actually has come up recently, seasonality effects, things of that nature. That I assume is again as simple as calling out in the prompt, maybe changing the comparison period to a year-over-year type approach. But
yeah, depending on the nature of the business, certainly like seasonality, where holiday time, if you're if that's something that affects your business, yeah, you definitely want to take all of those kind of factors into account, and that's again where with a couple of changes to the prompt or some insights that you have about that seasonality, you might want to rerun the analysis, and getting that kind of quicker feedback loop going allows you to react and respond to customer behavior and changes in your funnel faster.
Cool. Quick reminder, if you do have questions, add them. We will happily answer any comments, things of that nature. Just add them into the chat window.
Okay, well, I'm not going to wait around for this to finish because sometimes that N8N API is a little bit slow. I did previously generate it. This is what it creates. It's basically the entire workflow that we talked about. So triggering it at 9 a.m., querying for the metrics, calculating the z-scores, which is effectively the deviation from the mean. You can see here in this node, it's actually got all the code. that it's automatically generated to calculate those, and then sending the Slack alert. So once I wire this up with the right BigQuery credentials, I can hit start, and this is ready to go. So I've got my automated daily anomaly detection for my funnel up and running. So just to recap, what we looked at in this demo, we analyzed Reform's daily metrics for anomalies. We've alerted the team via Slack with a formatted actionable message through our agent, and we actually created and deployed a live end-to-end workflow that will run that automated check every morning. So again, this is the kind of sort of funnel monitoring that used to require a lot of custom dashboards, engineering time. Now we have an agent that can set it up for you in minutes, and the workflow, as you saw, is already set up in end-to-end and ready to activate. All right. So pause this. Let's move on to, probably have time for one or two more demos. The next one is going to be a trial to paid conversion analysis. So as you saw in our first demo, we have, with the data that we were looking at, a pretty significant gap in terms of trial to paid conversions, less than 25% conversion rate from trial to paid. So for PLG applications like Reform, it's a $1 million question. What makes trial users actually convert to paid? So let's look at how an agent can identify what your product's aha moment, which are the features that actually correlate and drive trial users to convert to paid, and how we can do this kind of analysis in minutes using Reform's trial data. So again, I've got some source data here around trial users and then feature usage. In the feature usage, I've got the actual features in Reform, publish form, configure integration, etc. The time that the feature was used, first used by the user, the number of times the user has used the feature, and the days, how many days into the trial the feature was used. So this is the source data along with the users themselves. And I want to understand, the overall trial conversion rate, obviously. Which features in Reform do converters use that non-converters don't? And I'm asking it to help identify that aha moment. So the feature, again, that when used early in the trial dramatically increases conversion. And then I want to summarize this in a table, but also look at how important it is for that feature to be used early versus later in the trial.
Very cool. Yeah, this kind of is base level startup, huh? Finding the aha moment. And I think historically would provide or require a decent amount of manual querying, SQL, things of that nature. So this seems like it's going to happen very quickly, probably a minute or two. Let's see what it finds.
Yeah, I'd say it's, definitely startups in the early days are trying to figure this out, but, products change all the time, right? And the aha moments can change in the way that you change your onboarding sequence, additional new features that you add, etc. Those are all going to influence conversion rates in the customer journey. So doing this kind of analysis is something that I think, product managers and growth marketers in SaaS startups will do not infrequently.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. It's something maybe on a reoccurring basis. And then also once changes, maybe we get the initial output, make some changes to the user's experience, we can then rerun to see if any of the interventions or changes we're making are actually having an impact.
Okay, so it's analyzed the data, and it's now generating the output file.
Cool. All right, and for anyone who's just joining, we're conducting, I'm not sure what type of analysis, a regression maybe, really to uncover some insights into user behavior, what is actually a high quality user, what actions are they taking, and kind of how are we getting to that aha moment that gets them hooked on a particular product. Everyone here should be familiar with that, but I think in the early days of Facebook, it was adding 9 friends or 7 friends. That's kind of the meme of the aha moment. And here, it's very important, and we're trying to uncover it from our actual Reform product data.
Yep, and here it is. So what it's found in analyzing the features that influence trial to paid conversions is this key finding that users who configure an integration in Reform within the first 3 days of the trial convert at 70%, which is almost 2x the baseline conversion rate. So that's really, really important to know, and it's not super surprising because if you're connecting it sort of into your stack, it means you're actually integrating it into your workflow. So it's more important than actually publishing a form or receiving a submission. It's actually configuring that integration. So this suggests that the configured integration is what makes Reform sticky, and it was able to identify that aha moment in a few minutes, something that often takes analysts hours of work. So what might we do with this finding? Well, one of the things that we might do is actually change our onboarding sequence to nudge users to set up that integration earlier in their trial. So here we're going to ask the agent to generate specific onboarding recommendations to improve Reform's onboarding. So we want specific recommendations to, for the onboarding flow and how to prioritize this configure integration. An email sequence in the first 3 days, because as we saw, when the configure integration step or features is done earlier, there's significantly higher conversion rate than later in the trial. We want some in-app nudges, prompts in the application to get them to configure that integration. We also want to identify users that are at risk that haven't configured the integration and are later on in the trial that we might want to intervene with and get them to set up that integration and see the value of Reform. And then obviously, metrics to track to know if this is effective.
Cool.
And I think an important thing here is we also want this to be an actionable plan, something that we can execute on immediately.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm hopeful to see, as is in the prompt, specific recommendations to change, and not just broad stroke, improve onboarding, add widgets, things like that. So we will see, but I am very hopeful. Yeah, and I think if anyone else has, how is anyone watching workflow changed with AI and agents? This task would, normally require a growth consultant going through the data and then having a deliverable of these recommendations. Does that? We've been here for 5 or 6 minutes. And again, we'll see the quality of the output, but based off what we've seen previously, I'm pretty hopeful it's going to be very actionable.
There we go. Let's see if it meets your quality threshold, David. So onboarding flow recommendations and a recommended flow. Now I made some assumptions about the current state of the onboarding, which we could probably feed it a little bit better information. Some specific changes. So welcome screen design, prominence of the integration step in the navigation. An email sequence that it's suggested. Again, we might want to tweak this and improve it, but it's trying to highlight the value of setting up that integration early and connecting Reform into your stack. Some in-app nudges Again, obviously, these are going to have to go through a round of design, but at least concepts for how you might nudge and guide users to get the value of reform integrations early, and then ways that we might intervene with at-risk users. So on the subject of at-risk users, let's say I want to identify those users in the data that are at risk, that haven't configured an integration yet, have only used some of the basic features of Reform, and are later on in their trial, like after day 5. We're gonna analyze those users and also generate a CSV that we want to do something with. We might want to hand them to the customer success team to reach out to and help them set up that integration. We might want to put them in a nurture sequence so that they recognize the value of integrations and can actually activate that feature.
Cool. Yeah, it seems very proactive, right? We're not waiting for folks to churn and re-engaging. We're getting ahead of that. Cool. All right, while that's running, just a reminder, in just a few minutes at the end, I will be sharing a link to kind of our free, not sure what we're calling it, playbook, all the prompts you've seen today, all the examples. I assume there will be a rerun of this webinar available. Don't know for sure. If not, reach out and we'll figure it out, but you should be able to play around with things on your own, and yeah, let us know if you have good outcomes. Anyway,
Yep.
Here we have that.
There will be a there will be a replay available, absolutely. And here we go. We've got the at-risk users report. It's also generated a CSV. I'm just going to kick this next step off and keep talking. But what we want to do here is, again, close the loop on action, right? And actually upload the at-risk users list to our HubSpot, so that the success team can take action. We can nurture them, add them to workflows, etc. So again, Claude is going to do that for us, and here's our HubSpot, and it should pop up there shortly. But while it's doing that, let's just recap what we did here. In just a few minutes, we've identified, our aha moment feature from the raw feature usage in Reform that happened to be integration configuration that predicted nearly 2x higher conversion. We generated a specific, onboarding set of onboarding recommendations to activate users faster based on that insight. We created our prioritized list of at-risk users that we want to reach out to help them out set up the integration. And we sync those users, or we are syncing those users directly to HubSpot for immediate follow-up. So this is the kind of analysis and workflow that can take a data team weeks. Our agent, has done it in a few minutes, and the success team can start working that list the next day. Okay, we're pretty much at time, so I'm going to kick off. I'm going to skip the UTM one, and I'm going to kick off a one that I think is kind of cool while we kind of wrap this up. Let's end this. Which is actually taking a screenshot of our one of our landing pages, which is the Done For You Forms landing page on Reform, and using Claude's computer vision capabilities to actually analyze it as a CRO expert. We've looked at, I don't know how many thousand landing pages over the years at FunnelEnvy, and these are the sorts of things that we look at to improve conversion rates. And so in this case, we're going to have Claude do it and give us a set of analysis. So while that's running, I just wanted to kind of make sure we're wrapping this up effectively. So as David said earlier, we put together a playbook that documents everything you saw today, all of the examples, all of the workflows, the underlying code, etc. It includes the Insight Hypothesis Action Framework, all 6 demos, SQL queries and code that were automatically generated by Claude, sample outputs, David, if you can drop the link into the comments now. Again, that's all free. Just grab it, start experimenting. And if you want to go deeper on it, we're happy to connect on LinkedIn and share more resources as we develop them. Just send us a connection request and mention that you were on the webinar. And while this is running, I'm just gonna sort of close things up here. And see if I can beat it to completion. So we're coming up on the hour, and I really appreciate all of you being here. What I hope you take away from today is this, that tools like Claude Code aren't just for developers writing code. When I started the webinar, I said some of the best AI tools for marketing work aren't marketed to marketers, they're developer tools. And you saw what they actually can do. They can query your data warehouse, they can reason about the patterns, they can generate insights and ultimately take action, including like creating files, sending alerts, updating your tools, generating experiment briefs. That's not code generation, that's workflow automation, and you don't need engineering to build it. I've just prompted it with natural language, not just today, but even in building this entire demo. So the demos that you saw today, funnel analysis, audience building, anomaly detection, PLG analytics, tracking, these are things that marketers do every week. And with tools like Claude Code or Codex CLI, you can automate a lot of the tedious parts of this process and focus on the strategic decisions. Today we went from raw data to actionable outputs in minutes and not hours. And we generated documentation that would normally take a day or longer. We caught issues that would silently have corrupted analytics for months. Actually, that was the demo that we skipped, but it's in there. And we deployed a live automation workflow without writing a single line of code for ourselves. So that's where we think the real opportunity is. A lot of these developer tools that let marketers build their own automations. So like I said, grab the link to the playbook and the repository. I think David's posted it in there. Please do connect with me and David on LinkedIn if you want to keep the conversation going. And I think most importantly, go try this stuff yourself. It's only going to get easier from now looking forward. So pick one use case that you have, run it on your data, and see what you discover. Really appreciate you spending some of your Thursday with us. This was Agents for Marketers, from insight to action. And we're excited to see what great things you all build. And with that, it's wrapped up and generated our CRO analysis. But unfortunately, I'm out of time, so it should be in the repository. Thank you so much.
Thanks all.